when you start borrowing money out,
Use your hand.
you need to pay that back. But it's not a big thing to get into. What you need a broach, right? You need a decent pickup or probably a van. You gotta determine where your range is gonna be, how many shops you're gonna be servicing, how much money and how many clutches can you sell. Now, you're gonna have to sell a clutch or two a day. I'm not sure if there's that much work out there. So where's your radius of travel? Where's your radius of travel? How far are you gonna travel to sell a clutch? You're gonna go all the way up to Dahlonega at $4 a gallon? Or whatever, 322.
It's going down 342.
Just wait till midsummer.
You think
So
so?
you're gonna have to develop,
I work
you
for a
have to
fuel
see where your range is at.
You say?
I work for a fuel station.
Oh, really?
All right, take a look
When
at
is
this
gonna go
flywheel.
up?
They're saying the $5 during summer.
Hey,
Yeah,
guys,
to fill up now.
listen up. Look at this flywheel.
He's gonna get that feel they speak to. I'm sorry.
Does this flywheel need to be cut?
Yes.
It does. There's a lot of hot spots on it. You don't want to put a new pressure plate throw bearing or pressure plate and clutch disc on this flywheel. There's too many hot spots on it. We need to cut some of those hot spots out of it. But if we do, we're gonna go ahead and thin out the pressure, or the flywheel. And if you do, you've gotta put a shim in the back. So if you're cutting 15 thousandths, order a 15,000 shim and put in the back of it. That'll compensate for the thinness of the flywheel, okay?
Oh.
Use a flywheel shim. They're not cheap, about $6 or $7.
Nice.
Or repair it by grinding the appropriate surfaces. The release bearing must always be replaced with a new one. Confirm.
Make sure the release bearing or the front part where it's riding on is in good shape. They call this a front bearing retainer, but this retainer is integral with the housing. That's part of the housing on some of the units. Some, like the ones you're working on, retainer you could slip off and put another one on, okay? So make sure that your front bearing retainer is clean and free from any type of contamination. Any questions? All right.
There is no grease leakage or damage, and that the bearing turns smoothly.
Smoothly.
Pinche caliente.
Do not put too much grease on here. You should slide appropriately, but not to the point you're squeezing grease out every time you're going back and forth. Too much grease may get on the clutch disc and cause it to slip. Put a little bit of grease on the splines, very little. Make sure that the disc is the right disc for the spline. Nobody does that. That's why you're here, man. I'm giving you tips. We say, oh, this is easy. Yeah, okay. It's not that easy.
Some clutch covers are pull type, and you can disengage the clutch by pulling the diaphragm spring. Exiting pull-type clutch covers employ a snap-in mechanism for extremely easy removal and bearing replacement.
White gloves.
They all one?
Finally, confirm there is no end float in the top shaft, and check the teeth for wear.
All right, end flow, top shaft. Honda's got a real problem with the input shaft bearing. Let's get a scenario going here, guys. We're driving down the road. Confident handle this question. Driving down the road in a Honda Civic. Got a 5-speed manual transmission. On that one's got a stub shaft, no pilot bearing. This one's got a pilot bearing. This has got a stub on the end of the input shaft. All right, this one does not. Most of your front-wheel drives do not have a stub shaft or a pilot bearing. The only means it splines directly into the clutch disc, that's it. And it goes into the flywheel, but basically that's it. Driving down the road, there's a noise. Now there's a noise, okay? But when you push the clutch and the noise goes away, what's wrong with it?
Could it be that, like how they said if you drop one of the things and then you add a bend in one of those?
You got a noise, you're going down the road with this Honda Civic. It's a 1995 Honda Civic. Push the clutch and the clutch goes away, what's wrong with it?
The dark.
It's a noise through all gears?
Bro?
When you push the clutch in, it backs it off the cover, right, or what do you call it?
Noise goes away in all gears after you push the clutch, and what's wrong with it?
Slipping?
Tell them what you're
What are you disconnecting?
Diaphragm?
It's on that little thing sitting in front of you.
touch.
13.
What's released from pressure?
Which one? The
Gears.
navigator thing.
Planetary gear.
Push that what?
Front input shaft bearing.
That's correct.
Yeah,
That is correct. The front input shaft bearing has now been releasing pressure. Noise went away when the clutch was in there. Here's another one. Honda Civic, Solus. Honda Civic goes down the road, it got a noise when it's pushed in and a noise when it's just out. It's going down the road, it's got a noise either way, in or out, what's wrong with it? I've had one of these and I had to fix this car too. If you push the
Quite
noise
sure.
in, I mean, if you put the clutch in and the noise goes away, it's the input shaft bearing. So what's wrong with this scenario?
Always negative?
Could be that. Yeah.
Garcia, what's wrong with
Could
the
be
car?
output.
You said if it's always making, it's gotta be a bearing, right, that's always spinning, so if it's, is it the input?
Which bearing is it?
Input bearing?
No, the output.
The end shaft bearing? It's always
The
spinning?
input bearing?
No, not the input.
Output.
The output?
The output.
Pilot bearing?
Yeah, that's the one that's always spinning,
No.
right? No?
But it may be worn, so you want to replace it. In this scenario, where you have a problem in the clutch, both in and out with the pedal, you have a problem with the front input bearing, and you have a bad throw-out bearing. There you go.
About what?
Bad throw-out bearing and bad input bearing. Because the noise is there on both. Okay? Are we good? Okay, let's move on.
Be sure to handle the clutch carefully and wear clean cotton work gloves.
White gloves.
If the clutch is handled with greasy hands or gloves, grease may get on the facing material, the pressure plate, or the flywheel, and cause a chattering noise, faulty disengagement, slipping, or shuddering. Check the clutch disc that is being installed to confirm that the facing is not chipped and that there are no scratches on the splined hub teeth. If no problem is found, fit the clutch disc onto the transmission's top shaft.
There you go. See him
and
checking
confirm
it
that
out?
moves smoothly.
See him checking it out?
After confirming that the
Problemo.
clutch disc moves smoothly,
Yeah.
remove it from the top shaft.
Good, good.
And use a brush to apply grease to the splined hub teeth and to the teeth of the top shaft. Fit the clutch disc back onto the top shaft and wipe away any excess grease. Excess grease could fly off and cause a chattering noise or a slipping problem. Confirm there are no scratches or other defects on the friction surfaces of the pressure plate. If there are no problems, use cleaner to degrease the pressure plate friction surfaces. Also degrease the flywheel in the same way. When installing the clutch, use an alignment tool to center the clutch disc. Align the clutch cover with the flywheel down pins and temporarily tighten at least 3 diagonally opposed bolts. If the bolts are not temporarily tightened, the clutch cover could fall off and cause an injury.
Ándale tú.
Before finishing tightening the bolts, reconfirm that the clutch disc is centered. Now tighten the bolts to the specified torque, alternating between diagonally opposed positions. Do not use an impact wrench to tighten the bolts. Differences in diaphragm height could cause a chattering noise or other problems. Clutch covers for mid-size and larger vehicles are fitted with red bolts, red wires, and red plates for temporary assembly. After installing the clutch, be sure to remove them. If the parts for temporary assembly are not removed, they will cause the clutch to slip or to seize.
Let's restart.
Before reconnecting the transmission to the engine, confirm there are no scratches on the housing mounting surface or on the engine's mounting surface, and wipe the surfaces with a clean rag.
What's up?
If any scratches are found, repair them.
The height.
Sir?
What type of grease do you use?
Huh?
What type of grease do you use?
It's just height.
Oh, Molly, you wanna lose a little bit of a heavier grease?
Uh-huh.
You don't wanna use anything that would be, turned back into liquid, like Vaseline or something, or, engine assembly lube, any of that light stuff. Use
Just
regular,
like the high temp.
high temp grease,
High
yeah,
temp.
some a little bit, but don't put a lot on,
Oh,
or Molly grease. All right?
I use high temp. No. I use high temp.
When reassembling the transmission, position it so that the crankshaft and top shaft are aligned in a straight line. While aligning the teeth, carefully insert the top shaft all the way into the clutch disc spline in a single motion. Stopping midway,
That's most likely.
Don't laugh too hard.
and result in
You're gonna be doing that with that Ford, that was a tough R&R.
Most likely.
confirming that the top shaft
Yeah,
is
it's not
inserted
that
all the way
easy.
into the spline. Align it with the housing dowel pins. After confirming that the clutch housing is fully in contact with the
Martillo.
engine's mounting surface, tighten the housing mounting bolts to the specified torque, alternating between diagonally opposed positions. Do not use an impact wrench to tighten the bolts, as the top shaft could be shifted off center. This type of correct handling and installation will enable XD products to display their peak performance. XD has introduced the latest high-tech equipment and industry-leading quality assurance so that you can use XD products with confidence. State-of-the-art testing systems verify the durability and reliability of XD products to ensure superior quality.
Yo.
That's pretty close.
Exceptional dependability is guaranteed by a comprehensive production system, from design to shipment of the finished product, and a rigorous quality control system.
No las palabras más
XA's complete lineup of clutch kits, racing clutches, and other fine products is designed to meet virtually any customer need.
What's the difference between a racing clutch
Customer
and
feedback from
regular
world-class
clutch? More
products
durable?
known for quality and reliability. XA is contributing to the evolution of today's motorized society as the world's leading manufacturer of drivetrain equipment.
Que esté buena. Puta verga.
Algo así como...
Excellent and dynamic. XA.
You didn't drift?
Yeah.
240?
240, what is 240? Not 240?
That's drifting. Sorry, racing.
Well, that's the drift. Skyline. Skyline. That's Skyline.
it does.